There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
Serious car audio enthusiasts know the brand ARC Audio. With its lineage in the highest level competition arenas, this brand has certainly excelled and innovated into so many different categories, from subwoofers to high-end components, amplifiers, and of course DSP. ARC Audio is the complete line. Today we've got their product expert, FRED Lynch, in the studio with us today to talk about the entire lineup and maybe a couple new product announcements as well. And let's not forget, we also have some really special guests, so stick around till the end. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM, ARC Audio, and it starts now. Hey guys, what's going on? And thanks for tuning in to another CMA Connected presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and we are kicking off a month-long, no, correction, longer than a month. It's like 5-week-long session all about the best car audio brands, and what better brand to start with than ARC Audio. Distributed in Canada by Importel, ARC Audio, of course, has a rich history in competition, as I'd mentioned, but also really fascinating innovations to always gain that advantage and to maximize your investment when it comes to investing in something as high-end as ARC Audio can be. So before we start this very interesting session out, let's go ahead and invite their Canadian distributor, Importel, and representing them is their 12-volt specialist, Romesh. What's going on, Romesh?
Hey, Ben, how you doing? Thanks for
having us on. You're looking giddy. It's like as if you've been looking forward to this one or something.
Oh, this is going to be quite the show. Kind of like your lead in there with the Murderers Row trainers there. This is going to be quite exciting. This is good.
I'm gonna be honest. I've been very intrigued myself putting this show together with you guys. You know, when we first sat down with you and with ARC, they're like, we want to do something a little bit different when it comes to connected. Yeah, car audio, it's great. We can talk about the product, but I think this show, the underlying theme will be perspectives.
Absolutely. There is, from a product side, we can talk products, to we're blue in the face, and that's always interesting. Is what we do, and it's what the industry does, and we've done it for decades. But having the perspective of I guess the perspective of different points in the industry is really important. From as distributors and manufacturers, we have let's say a self-serving or kind of our point of view, and that's sort of always been how it's been when we were retailers. This is going to be pretty interesting because we have a little bit different spin on what's typically, I think, done in these types of connected segments.
Well, let's not forget, we definitely will talk about product because obviously this is where people tune in. Fred's going to come on. I think he has a couple new product announcements he may want to touch on. We'll see
There's some exciting stuff.
We'll see how he's feeling today.
Well, whether or not he's got clearance from CSIS or whoever
exactly
in the US to share this info.
And we've got some specialists. I'm going to let kind of Fred describe how he, had this brainstorm, this brainchild of kind of putting the show together. But in either case, it's about ARC Audio. It's a great brand. It covers it checks all the boxes, whether you're looking for intermediate to high level, non-DSP, DSP, multi-channel, monoblock, subwoofers, shallows, regulars, components, coaxial. I mean, it's a full line. So here's my question. ARC Audio and Importel has shared some history together now. And what are you most excited to learn about today?
The X2 line. The entire line. I mean, it's to pick one particular thing. But I think X2 is you were talking about kind of different layers, and I think often we in an industry we might use price to decipher or try to determine where something fits. And I think some of the guests that we have are going to really dispel some of the conventional wisdom, if you want to call it wisdom, that we use, and they'll apply real world applications and knowledge to explain where some of those pieces might fit and how they can maybe punch well above their weight class and why that's important. So be really important.
Well, I'll tell you what, let's set the mood. We've got a great video that kind of showcases a little bit. It gives you a taste of what ARC Audio is all about. And when we come back, we're going to get Fred in here and find out what his master plan is today. Let's go ahead and roll the tape. Master plan. ARC Audio, let's get in on this. Let's go ahead and bring in the man. He's known as Fred Lynch. I asked him for a title once, and he said, put whatever you want, Ben, because I do everything here. So I'll just stick with that. The guy that does everything at ARC, let's bring him in. Fred Lynch from ARC Audio, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, what's going on, Fred?
How you doing, guys? Good. I don't know if I would be saying the guy who does everything, but
anybody does a lot of different things. Like a lot of people at ARC do a lot of different things.
I'm going to say your official response was jack of all trades, but I didn't want to put that on writing, so I don't know.
Anyway. Well, actually, if you look at my business card, it just says insert job title of the day here.
There you go. There you go. Fred, special day today. We are diving in on ARC Audio from different angles of attack. We're going to show different perspectives today. First question. I wanted to hear, you heard my intro, and not everything I said is complete fact. It's got the brand has a strong following. It especially within the competition circles. There's a reason for it. I'd like to hear in your words why you feel there's such a loyalty and a following amongst music lovers in general.
ARC Audio, when we did get started back in 1998, we were started by enthusiasts. We were started with the methodology of taking a look at things we didn't like about what we were seeing in the industry and making sure that, one, we stayed innovative, creative, that we looked at the applications, what people were asking for, most importantly, listening to what our customers and our dealers were looking for. And, we're still a grassroots company, and the fact that we're still out there competing, supporting competition, supporting music, most importantly. And that's still continuing to drive us to this day. And as a result, we may not be the biggest company out there, but all the products that we have still hold true to what our original company started for, and our values and our fundamentals have not changed.
Very good. So we've been hinting at it all intro here. We've got some special guests. I want to give you the opportunity to kind of tell us who's going to be coming on a little bit later, and what was the whole idea behind today's concept show?
Well, there's a lot of these episodes, and I don't want to take anything away from any other manufacturer. I wanted to do something a little bit different because nobody wants to watch an episode where it seems like they're reading out of a catalog. We're going to do a quick run through on some of the products just so people see what's there. But I wanted to put more of a focus on third party. I want our retailers to be able to hear from a retailer. Actually, I want them to be able to hear from a retailer who started off being very, very optimistic towards ARC Audio. And then now he's become probably one of our biggest backers, especially up in Canada. Get his opinion not only from the sales and owner side, but as well as also from the installer side and why he still continues to support the product. Beyond that, I want him to speak because I'm definitely a believer that third-party information definitely goes a lot further than me working for the company and preaching it. The other person talks about facts, and he's been in the industry a long, long time, and his job basically is to test product, speak for what it is, the goods, the bads, the uglies, and knock on wood, if he can educate people and teach people about this, disrupting myth and focusing on to physical, factual, tested results on products and being able to offer an opinion based upon those facts. That's the guy that I like because I want customers to know what they're getting and at the same time follow that proven guarantee that we have, which is under promise and over deliver.
Very, very good. Very, very good.
Now,
Pretty excited.
as far as who those people are,
You're going to have to stick around.
I'll let that pop up here in a little bit. So,
All right.
but we are going to put a decent portion of this show to that, and we're going to have a little fun at the end because I definitely believe a roundtable session on the fly definitely creates for some interesting conversations. So.
Amazing. So we're going to have those two guests on after the presentation. We're going to come bring everybody back, and we're going to have a little chit chat, a little powwow, and see what goes on there. Last but not least, we'll pass you over the mic and the stage. What can we expect to learn about from your presentation today?
You know what? I'm going to make sure people are aware of what we got going on, and we're going to focus on the main core products of what Importel is selling right now. And we're going to spend a few minutes at the end talking about the future. We had sneak peeked a couple things in the past, and we are actively moving forward in production. In fact, we're waiting for some product too, so we'll have a couple of product announcements here, and we'll spend a couple of minutes talking about what the future holds. So.
That's amazing. Well, for you dealers tuned in, take out a notepad. There's going to be a fun one. Maybe get some popcorn. Who knows? We'll see. On that note, Fred, we're going to go ahead and pass you the mic, so to speak, and away you go. Here we go. FRED Lynch.
So one of our fundamental products that we've had in this line, as far as our lineups go, has to do with the X2 series. That is our go-to lineup. That has to deal with speakers, subwoofers, and amplifiers. Now, the X2 lineup, actually, the amplifiers is in 2 basis points, and I got a couple samples here in my hands. There's actually 2 key structures to this. You have the X2. This is the higher end level, and this is actually our 5-channel here. We also have a 6-channel that's just a little bit bigger. And the nice part about the X2 that's made it a go-to product is you get more than what we promise on the spec sheet. And in this case, we have amplifiers that are in excess of 95% efficient, so it works exceptionally well with the vehicle's charging systems. But then we also have the second layer, which is more cost affordable and price point driven. Same thing, it is the X2 lineup. This says XDI on here because of the fact that the XDI lineup, this badging, if you notice, was one of the original the build-up sections. And this is something that we had in XDI. And the reason why I brought this is this lineup works so well, we brought it back with all the updates. But look at the size of it. It's very simple, stamped steel casing, everything's on the front of it. It's cut and dry. And the new X2 lineup is the same thing. And we have that level of it. And of course, then we have the aluminum chassis on it. It's got an illuminated logo on the front, complete diagnostics, tons of power at 150 watts to channel by at 4 ohms or 2 ohms on the main channels. And if it's the 5-channel, it'll do 500 watts of 2 ohms, or if it's the 6-channel bridge, it'll do 600. We also have a 2500 watt version monoblock, an 1100 watt version monoblock, and a 650 watt monoblock. Also in that lineup we've also got the speakers. Now this here is something that people are waiting for, and we're waiting for the shipment to get back in, is the X2 6.2s. This is one of our target speakers, this and the X2 602 coaxials. This is the go-to line. This is a internally developed line, and it's designed based off the fundamentals of everything that we've done in our higher end speaker line as well too. Great power handling, excessive thermal rating. It's designed to be able to handle all the abuse and use that you can use under high demand periods for anything from temperature to even handling distortion. That's an unfortunate thing that we still deal with in this industry that we haven't been able to eliminate as a whole. But 6.5-inch components. We also have the 4x6, 5x7, 6x9, 4-inch, 5-inch coaxials, and then 5.25 and 6.5-inch components. So then the next part of that line, of course, is our X2 subwoofer, which the X2 subwoofer, this is the 10-inch version of it here. These have been around now for a couple of years, and this is a street SQL, or some people call it SQL style driver, designed for both ported and sealed enclosures. They do work in really small enclosures, have great power handling, large voice coils, they're very efficient. I could sit here and talk about specs, but who wants to hear about spec sheets on here, just what reality is? Put these things in the back of the vehicle, people love them, and the output on them is, most people are very surprised the fact that they say it sounds like they get a lot more than what they had originally thought of when it comes to these actual products. These lines are available in dual voice coil, dual 2 and dual 4 ohm configurations in the 10-inch and 12-inch. And this is something that Importel has a very good stock of. And we really don't see much of these back in the form of even warranty requests because of the fact of how reliable they've been and how durable they've been. But we've got a great following on these drivers here in the U.S. It's actually our #1 selling subwoofer. We also have a lot of great opportunities here in the future for some revisions and changes that we have coming. So also, in the speaker lineup, we also have our RS series, which is our high-end speaker line. This is actually kind of what started our new development for our speakers back in 2016 when we started this engineering project. And this was something that at our 20-year anniversary, we unveiled at CES for our 20th anniversary. Now, one thing that definitely makes ARC Audio a little bit unique, and it extends with our amplifiers, our speakers, and our subs, is that 100% of all of our products are generated, engineered, and innovatively created internally. We're not rebadging products from other companies, and we're not just simply going overseas saying, hey, that product looks cool, would you put our name on it? RS series was one of the big ones for us, going in and taking over 100% control of all of our speaker lines. In fact, this was actually one of my projects that I worked on for about 2 years before we released it. And the RS series line is co-engineered with a gentleman out of Denmark, and we do have these made elsewhere other than China. But this is the RS6. This is the high-end 6-inch driver. This is also available on a 4-inch and also a 3-inch. And then we also have the tweeter. And I mean, we've done little things. It's a tune chamber tweeter. These are the same drivers, nothing special that beyond what we sell over the shelf in our competition team. So we use what we make. We're not sitting here doing custom built products. In this case, the 6-inch driver, it's 100% tooled design. We own every part about it. We've designed this. We even have the notorious, everybody calls it the orange juicer. In one of the trainings overseas on there, they said, well, why did you do it that way? And I said, well, how many of you have kids? If you've got A pillars, how many of you go in and push it? I said, well, this is the child-proof dust cap. And literally it was something based off of making sure that it was something that people would remember. And it definitely has done it, because people like to crack jokes saying, hey, are we going to get a fresh cup of juice or something like that with your speakers? And I'll take that. It's something they remember about. But backside of it, nice and sexy and elegant, vented voice coil. And on top of it, just like everything we do with our speakers and subs, the RS series, as well as all of our speakers now, also go through a step-up power testing program. And it does require that the speakers pass at least a 400% power rating at 8 hours under clean power, and as much as up to 3% THD in order to make sure that these things are going to be reliably durable as far as temperature goes, even under the real operating conditions. And that's including even in the X2 series. Also going into that lineup, we've got other lines within the speakers too. And I don't have all of them on the slides here, but if we go to the next one here, we've got a Moto series. So Moto series is our lineup for speakers for the motorcycle as well as outdoor environment. All of our stuff is treated for with environmental considerations, such as our amplifiers all have the proper coatings on the boards. Yes, we don't make them out of plastic. No, we're not rating them for waterproof reliability on there. We have a huge marine conglomerate of people that use it and follow with that product, simply because of how durable it is, even in high humidity and moisture environments. But when it comes to the Moto series, we have, as you see on the picture there, we have the 6.5-inch coaxial, as well as also horn driven for the guys that want it really, really loud. This driver here, which is like the one you have on here, this is the Moto 602 coaxial. It's a completely sealed front design and standalone tweeter. So this is actually a full format tweeter. It's a polymylar tweeter dome, so it's extremely efficient but extremely musical. So depending on what kind of music you're looking for, as far as the sound is very subjective. So it's all about the listener, and it's about how you like to listen to it. If you like it really bright and just want it in your face, super, super loud, you use the horn speaker, the Moto 602 HD. If you want it more musical and more balanced, then you use something like this with the tweeter on the front of it. And once again, it's got all the treatments and considerations for the outdoor environment: heat, humidity, moisture, UV. It's all taken care of in this driver here. But one thing that everybody was asking for, and here we go, new product time. These will hopefully be released here very shortly. We're waiting for the shipment to come in and do the final QC on it. But the Moto CX69, these we sneak peeked a little bit back at Knowledge Fest in Vegas. We're waiting for the shipment to arrive. But this is the replacement for the Moto the Moto Series 6x9 that we had last year, the two-way. Once again, fully sealed cone, so it's perfect for bag lids or inside the bags. This is the same full format tweeter on it. Has a really low resonant frequency on it too, so it's great for mid bass. And these things will take a gob of power. We've actually built a little bit more power into these, or as far as power handling and thermal than what we did on the last series, just because the fact that the demand for bigger numbers was going up and up and up. And the Moto series as a whole is a testament to, to what we've done with it. Another product that we are heading into production with, because people said, well, okay, you got the Moto 6, you got the Moto 602 HD. Well, what about something with the horn with the 6x9? And you asked, and we made it. So we're heading into production with these, and as soon as we get these in, but same thing, got the horn-driven compression driver right there in the center of it. Got a full moderate excursion 6x9. It's got great power handling on it. The nice part about these is you can still put them back in the lids. The first question everybody is, well, what do you do about water for this area here and going in? You can't see it, I doubt, really on here, but there is a hydrophobic screen. It's the same one that is on the Moto 602 HD, and actually you can take this. One of the demos we do is watch it, hook it up, and play music through it. Same thing with the 6-inch, and we'll fill this up with water all the way up to the top, play it around a little bit, whatever, dump it out, and then keep playing. And there's no damage. And actually, if you were to disassemble this and unglue everything, the dome itself still remains 100% dry. It's a really, really cool technology, which makes this a perfect candidate to be able to go into the lids as well as any other location on custom locations on bikes, stuff like that. So, and then of course, then we've got, the rest of the Moto series line, which also has to deal with our, where is it here? With our amplifier line. And I'll take one more step back on the amps, which has to do with the Moto 720. And this is the one that's designed to go up into the fairing of all the street glides and road glides on here. What makes this different is this is real power. We're not doing impulse power ratings. We actually rate these. We underrate these things. We're getting a lot more power than what we can in it, well over the 150 watt channel mark, and super compact, super efficient. So it works great within the realms of what the motorcycles have the power on them, and they're all plug and play on the front end, so they're easy to service or swap out into a different bike. And this goes great with any of our DSP technology pieces too, so you can combat all the integration components dealing with today's DSP stuff on their motorcycles. So especially in the Harley Davidsons on the newer versions. Moving on, we're going to go a little bit more into the subwoofers. So of course we have the ARC series subwoofers. This here is the ARC 8, and ARC 8-inch subwoofer has actually been one of the #1 selling subs worldwide for our company. In fact, we've got distributors overseas that order these by the pallet loads, especially for BMW applications, doing custom BMW applications in the trunk, even small exotic sports cars. They work in a tiny amount of airspace. They are extremely versatile in their power handling capability, tons of output even for an 8-inch driver. And we also have this in 10-inch and 12-inch configurations as well. These have been our longest running drivers, and I will say that we are, just because we've been very hesitant to want to make any changes to them, simply because of the feedback and success that we've had with them. But we are working on new models for this, hint, hint, hint. And it is an ongoing project. So you will see some changes and some updates here in the future. But for right now, if you want something that's more focused on SQ and something that gives you great output, great extension on the bottom end, ton of power handling, and just ton of resilience in the way that they perform, the ARC series line is definitely going to be the one that you're looking for, stepping up from the X2. A little bit less street, more accuracy, and they work great in sealed, also port enclosures. And we have some guys that also love to use these things free air as well too. So, but like I said, we have these available in all the sizes. Moving on, let's see here. Moving on, one of our newest releases, where is it here? Nope. Is the A series. So this is one of our 2 shallow subwoofers. As you see, it's not as shallow as some of the shallowest subs. We did that for a reason, because we wanted to make sure that this product performed like a regular sub. over 15 millimeters X-Max on this, on both the 10 and the 12. The 12-inch actually uses a 3-inch voice coil, and it's a fiber and aluminum wound former on a copper voice coil. Super lightweight moving mass, tons of output, great excursion. You can play these things for just about anything on here. And we actually, one of our vehicles that we took out to the Master Tech Expo in 2 months ago, we took one out with 3 of these 10s in a 1.3 gross cubic foot sealed enclosure for all 3 subs combined, with only about 350 watts per driver, and the thing just absolutely annihilates people when they get into it. And these things have been actually one of the biggest, hottest tick items that we have as far as new products within the last 2 years. And like I said, huge vent on the backside, tons of cooling. This is a proprietary design. We tooled the whole thing so that way we can meet a lot of the needs of what our customers were asking for, and this also complements the SW series subline, which we are waiting for those to come back in. Now, the one thing I can say is for all the guys that were asking about SWs, they are coming back, and not only are they coming back when the SW12s come back out, the SW10s will be released at the same time. We are just waiting for a few things to get wrapped up on getting that taken care of, and everything will ship at the same time. We'll notify everybody once they are almost back in our hands. So, but that pretty much wraps up a lot of the SW series. So now Signature Edition amplifiers. Signature Edition amplifiers is something. These have been our competition series amplifier. We only have a few of these as far as size configurations. We have 2 2-channels and 2 4-channels. The 4200 is our big one. It's rated 100 watts by 4 ohms. The smaller one, which is the 4100, is rated respectively at about 50 watts, but it actually puts out about 130% rated power on it. These things are designed for those systems where the old saying, chain is only strong as the weakest link, because these things will reveal any of the other issues you have in your vehicle, whether it's cables and connections to speakers, to tuning, to the source unit, to the processor, whatever may it be. But this is the proven choice of amplifiers for all of our competitors, and our vehicles that are continually year after year ending up at the top placements of all the podium positions at finals and championships and all the major shows nationally. These are the amps that our guys are using. So moving forward, we also have the ARC series amplifiers. Now, one of the things about the ARC series amplifiers is this is a Class D amplifier, but it is unique. One of the things about Class D amplifiers that a lot of people are used to is, for many years, people would put a Class D amplifier into a car, and you could take one Class D amplifier, put it in 10 different cars, and say 6 or 7 of those cars, all of a sudden you have AM and FM mic'd out of it. Well, these amplifiers also have a modular DSP assembly that can go into them. And that modular DSP assembly, even if you don't have the DSP in, there's still a USB connection on the analog amplifier. And that's because you can hook up the computer and you can actually adjust the switching supply frequency for the amplifier, so that way it actually takes that switching frequency and moves it out of the affected area that could be wiping out your AM and FM reception in the vehicle. And I know you say, who uses AM or FM? There's a lot of people that still do. It can also help change that frequency that could be affecting other things, dealing with other electronics in the vehicle. But like I said, in this case here, this is the ARC 1000.6 that I've got in my hands here right now. Looks kind of like almost like a valve cover, which is almost what the inspiration was. The logo itself is all RGB controlled, so actually if you hook up the software, you can change all the lighting to any color that you want to match your vehicle's OEM electronics. And this one here actually has all of the IPS 8.8 DSP built into it. So here's all your channels right here. Here's all the connections across the bottom of it. These are even Maestro compatible. So if you're using it with the DSP, you can use the Maestro AR piece and actually plug in and have full OEM compatibility control. We also have a Wi-Fi card that you can get as an accessory and actually do wireless adjustments of the DSP using your laptop or other Wi-Fi enabled device. We have multiple controllers. We have the LR1 as well as also the PSE, which is the full function controller, which gives you full control of everything from equalization, crossover, signal delay, output trim, phase. It's all in there. Then we also have a Bluetooth port for our BTD module, which is our high-resolution Bluetooth dongle, which can also be used as a standalone device or as a incorporated Bluetooth piece, which goes digital in at this point. This also is the port if you're using the IR and you're using the IR digital input cable adapter. If you have one of the digital supported platforms, you get one of those cables from Importel that's made by us, and that connects both the analog RCAs for things like your navigation prompts and your cell phone communications, as well as goes in there, and that repopulates that and repurposes it now for the digital OEM communications to go directly into the amplifier with the AR module still in place. And this gives you the ability to have that high resolution digital signal going in without having to have a separate D to A unit. In this case here, like I said, this has got the DSP on the front end of it. So you've got all these inputs right in here. And then you still have two more outputs out here. So if you want to run a second amplifier for, say, standalone subwoofer, this is still all DSP controlled. And the way that you change this out is, like I say, the picture you saw came with the analog. This has the digital. You just simply take out these screws right here around the outside, and this whole module comes out. When you guys get these from Importel, you can order them with the DSPs already installed into them, or you can order them separately and install the DSPs in for the dealers up in Canada if you're doing that as a growing, growing addition to that system. So, but yeah, this is the ARC series line. Currently, right now, these are available from Importel in 3 configurations: 6-channel at 185 watts a channel, 2-channel at 550 watts a channel, and these are all forum ratings. And then also the 4-channel at 250, about 250, but it's actually about 285 watts a channel. So tons of power and very, very efficient designs, all the way up over the 95% mark. So we also have the KS series. This is a tried and true. This is the KSB3 line. These are a Class GH amplifier, so those guys that love analog but want the efficiency of a Class D, this is getting closer to that. This is more for the tried and true acoustical guys. These amplifiers are not rated at as high of a power level as what the Class Ds are, but the sonic signature of these amplifiers are extremely transparent. One of the things our head engineer Robert Jeff always says is if an amplifier is built right, you should not hear it. It should be like a piece of wire with gain, and that's the core fundamental responsibility of what we do with all of our amplifiers. You should be able to hear the music and not the electronics. We're not here to purposely put things in line to make the amplifier sound different to make you think you're getting more than what you're really getting. And that's where our guest later on comes in and talking about the tried and true pure characteristics of our amplifier designs and especially how they test, but I'll let him speak more on that. Moving on, then one of our big things is our DSP lineup. So currently right now we have two core products, one of them which is the Pro Series DSP, which has the IPS 8.8, which is the card you see on the right, and then the PS8 Pro. Now, both of those are 8-channel configurations. The card you see on the right is what interchanges into the ARC series amplifiers, and then the one on the left, which is just basically the same thing as what I got my hands on here. This is the PS8 Pro. PS8 Pro. This is your standalone unit, so you can use this with any products. But this is probably one of the most powerful and most acoustically transparent products on the market right now for DSPs. This is something that we've done our own engineering and design work on it. We use a very high-end series of analog device chips for the DSP, but we write all of our own code. We do all of our own software. We also do all of our own circuit board layouts. It's all done in-house. We don't third-party anything. And this is actually turned out to be. We've got a lot of guys that said, "Hey, we've tried product ABC, and we've come into this, and now we've come into this, and we just can't understand how your sound's so much better and so much more transparent." We've done exceptionally well with our relationships with companies like AKM, also with Analog Devices. We have direct relationships with all those chip manufacturers. They work with us on a lot of the engineering that we do with these components, and like I said, just sheer horsepower in DSP processing. So not only can you fix a lot of the things that are going on in the environment, you could also tailor that music to specifically to what you as the customer or your customers on how they want to do it, and being able to fix all the acoustical issues within the vehicle. Well, at least the ones that don't require changing the interior of the vehicle itself. So, but this has been a great, great product. And one of the things that we've kind of let the cat out of the bag, and I think that was back in Knowledge Fest, is we're getting ready to slowly but surely here start releasing a whole series of products that are going to be based around a 12-channel chip or 12-channel chips. So you will see the integrated DSP amplifiers with 12 channels. You'll see a standalone 12-channel. And the best part is these are all linkable too. So especially if you are using OEM integration and you're doing a system that is more than just 8 channels, so you have 8, 16, or if you're going to use the 12-channel, 12, 24, like some of the new Cadillacs or some of the new GMs, if it's AR compatible, we are the only manufacturer that our DSP technology allows you to link DSPs together, even on an OEM platform, so you can run multiple ARs and actually be able to have as many channels as you need, all OEM controlled as well. And that's something that's very unique to us. But outside of that, that is a quick run through in a nutshell of the current product lines, other than a couple of little sneak peeks we got.
Well, I'll tell you what, Fred, that was first of all, thank you. Very concise and great examples. But I'm not going to let you go that easily. You promised that there might, well, hold on. I digress. You did show the 6.5 and the 6x9 speakers in the Moto lineup. Did you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
So one of our big items that was in our DSP amplifier line that everybody's gotten used to has been the PS850. And that was a amplifier that's it's about like this big, about that
8-channel, 50
yeah,
watt
8
per
channels.
channel.
We rated it at 50 watts, and I'll actually let our guest speak a little bit on that one too later, because we only promised 50 watts and we delivered a lot more than that. But it's got the same DSP in it as our Pro Series DSP. But of course, everybody's like, dude, this is awesome, but we want more, but we don't want things to get bigger. Well, one of the things that we showcased, and this is something we are stepping into with production, is this guy here. This is called the Blackbird, and the Blackbird is the same exact chassis size as the PS850, but the power rating is going to be basically near almost triple the rating of what it's going to be about. It's going to be just about at 4 ohms. It'll be triple the rated power of what the PS850 was. But this is based off of a 12-channel platform, so you've got 8 channels of output that are all plug and play right there. You still have all the DSP controls, AXP, AR. You have AR compatibility for multi-linking. Everything's through here, but you also have 4 dedicated output channels that you can use to run to other amplifiers. So whether it's sub amplifiers, more channels, whatever you need to be, this is everything you need in one shot on here. And I mean, if you think about, like I say, here's the 6.5-inch speaker, and you can kind of get an idea. I probably should have brought out like a dollar bill, but I mean, this thing's tiny for the amount of power, and it's well over 90%.
Did you say, sorry to cut you off, Fred, did you say 3 times the power of the previous 850?
So the previous 850 was only rated at 50 watts, and this thing here alone will do basically over 1,000 watts of power combined. So
that is like a really sweet setup for active all around, and then put a mono to that for the sub, right?
Yeah, but then there was one more thing that people wanted, and that was, well, okay, it's cool that you got this small little amplifier, but now we got to run this big ass, whatever, excuse my French, but big amplifier for the subwoofer amplifiers. And other than that, they got to run some little compact Class D, whatever that they got to get from some other company or whatever that's super small and misrated and everything. So we're also coming out with the Nighthawk. So the Nighthawk is a dedicated sub amplifier, no DSP, 2 channels of input into it, all the fusing and everything, 4 gauge inputs, heavy gauge speaker outputs for speaker wires on here, and like I say, dedicated to run the sub, so you can run technically 2 of these if you want off of those dedicated outputs on the other one using that 12-channel DSP platform. And like I say, even the software is going to be getting some revisions on the DSP portion. But I mean, here is
that the same chassis? It is the same chassis. No,
same chassis, same cosmetics,
it is.
same everything. But like I say, they're small, powerful, they're efficient. They handle.
What was the power on that bad boy?
We're rating it at 800 watts. It'll put up more than that.
Nice little combo, Mr. Lynch. I like that very much. So, thank you so much for doing the presentation. Listen, we're going to give you a chance to take a breather and have a sip of water. In the meantime, we've got another video we want to play for those who are tuned in. And when we come back, I'm going to talk to a couple special guests. So don't you go dare go away. Here we go.
Yep.
Well, that video kind of gave away one of my two guests. But first, before I bring in that one, I've got one in the house that, man, I'm so proud that we even got on the show. He is super known in the world of fabrication, and he's Canadian, and we've had him on before, but he's a busy guy, so I'm very happy that he made the time. So I want to thank him in advance. This guy here, I mean, he builds it up, right? He puts the big ones in. And he's been kind of vocal about using these products. So I wanted to get him on here, and I'm not going to have Fred on the screen. It's just going to be me and him, and I want to hear what he has to say. Ladies and gentlemen, let's go on and bring in our good friend Sean Bashara into the studio. Mr. Sean.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Hello.
Thank you so much for making the time. I see you're in your shop, so I know you're busy, obviously always building those crazy builds, but I want to give you a big high five for taking the time today, Sean.
High five.
High five, buddy. High five. All right, listen, no secret. You build crazy stuff. What is your experience when it comes to ARC audio, and how often do you actually recommend this product to customers with the crazy builds that you do?
We are pretty much just using ARC audio now in everything. We do a lot of really big marine systems.
Mm-hmm.
We were using a lot of the other brands with the marine speakers, but a lot of the boats that we're doing are bigger, and my longtime customers keep wanting it louder and louder and louder, and we've switched to some PA style speakers, and so the setup that we do in the boats, we're normally run out 5,000 watts subwoofers. And then we run like a pair of 6 channels to the rest of to the tower speakers and the rest of the speakers too.
I'm sorry, I'm giggling, Sean. It's just that you say 5,000 watts so nonchalantly that I had to giggle. But that's amazing. That's great. Maybe we could talk about some of the latest projects that you've kind of incorporated this gear into. I know we have a couple of slides that Importel helped me kind of prepare. So maybe we can get you to speak to them. Why don't we go ahead and pull that up on the screen?
Sure.
And we can talk about a couple of these things here. So let's talk about, well, that's you, first of all. And here you are. That's actually your shop with all those X2 amplifiers, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that is.
So let's go see what happens with these guys here. So talk to us a little bit of what are we looking at here?
So what we were building there, that was for a 50-foot C-ray. And what I'm doing is making a new floor for the amplifiers, like where you have like the dining area kind of thing. It had an engine cover, so I rebuilt the entire thing out of steel and fiberglass. So that's your new engine cover. It's all fan cooled with a thermistor on it, tons and tons and tons of LEDs inside it, and then there's a piece of 3/4 inch tempered glass that sits on top of it.
Hold on a second. Are you saying you sunk this flush into the floor of a 50-foot boat?
Yep.
Love it. That's amazing. And that custom ARC audio logo, that's something you machined in house, yes?
Yeah, we did that on the laser.
Amazing. And I'm gonna guess that lights up as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely does. Okay, so here we go. Talk us. Oh, I see. Okay, please tell us what we're looking at.
So there's the amp rack. So everything is We built it. We overbuild everything, right? So we had the steel rack, and then we have the aluminum rack that kind of holds everything in case most people that are on boats are normally pretty drunk. So if they're gonna be jumping around, and some of the boat owners are big fat guys, so you get a couple of them on there, and you're at like 800 pounds. So it's not gonna fall apart.
So you did the jump on test, I'm sure, but what was the purpose of it? Like, did the owner really want to showcase his hardware, or was this your
Yeah, we're
idea?
building something that nobody else has really done. It's got a subwoofer box in the back with 415s, and it's got two motorized pods. And each motorized pod has four 8-inch and then four compression tweeters. So you've got 8/8s and 8 tweeters. So they normally face in, and then the customer hits a switch, and then those pods motorized to the back. Because these guys, we're around the Thousand Island area, right? So boating is really, really big there. And every year, there's the guys are kind of competing to see who's got the loudest boat. So we built something that I don't think anyone's going to touch for a while. This is really cool because, like, when you're playing electronic music, like, and the pods are open, it's loud, 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 loud. And then when the bass hits, because the floors are all fiberglass, it's got so much power and so subwoofers. The floors have about 2.5 inches of flex in it, so your knees actually buckled while you're getting beaten up by the mids and highs too.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's really loud.
Here's another angle. So these are all X2 amplifiers. Now, why did you go with the X2
we use
for
the
this
X2
application?
amps. We use the X2 amps on just about everything because they're pretty small, and also we beat the crap out of them, and we've never had a problem with any of them yet. We haven't seen not one warranty yet.
Not one warranty. Now, are you only putting in 4 or 6 a year, or have you actually gone through a couple of these?
Oh, we do a lot of those. I think I bought more 2500s than anyone else in Canada.
Okay, so you do run these a lot. Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Oh, I see what's going on here. So this is what it looks like in the boat installed.
That's what it looks like inside the boat. Yeah.
Man, what a showpiece, though. I mean, you walk into the boat as a guest, you're like, whoa, what's going on here?
Yeah, it's pretty wild looking, and the entire boat lights all up.
Amazing. And what's? Oh, wait a minute. That's not the floor. This is a different piece, isn't it?
That's a different boat. So that is I believe it's a 36-foot chaparral. So that's got a pair of 2500s and then a pair of 6 channels as well too. So that's running 3 SBL subs, and then speakers all over the boat too.
Amazing. All right, let's take this down for a second.
We're just starting to do dual alternators in that, and we're doing a big battery bank and stuff like that.
All right, let's go ahead and take this down, please, Sheldon. And so let me get into your mind a little bit here. What I'm trying to extract is, somebody who builds the type of stuff that you build, obviously you can choose anything you want to put in or suggest to your customers. I want to hear a little bit about why you have so much confidence in these products.
Well, I started about 3 or 4 years ago, and Dave was always like, "Hey, man, try it out. You'll like it." I'm like, "Oh, I've got this other stuff is good." So I think the FRED was like the DSP app, and it was like, holy wow, like that's a really, really incredible sounding piece, and it was super easy to tune, which I like because that would make it a lot of money. So we blasted through that, and then after that, I'm like, well, let's try some more stuff. And a lot of my customers, like I've been doing a lot of these guys' cars for 25 or 30 years. So they're like, okay, I don't want a big stereo. I don't want a big stereo. And then next thing you know, they're like, yeah, we need a big stereo. They keep upgrading. And the 2500s are nice because they're fairly small. And we'll put like some really big 10s in boats kind of thing. And they hammer.
Like tons of jam. Gobs.
Tons and tons. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the 6 channels are really nice too. They're fairly small, and when you're doing an amp rack, it's nice because they like amps. They kind of look like one big amp. And when you're looking at a boat, there's a lot of long, skinny compartments kind of thing. So these amps,
interesting.
Run them all up, and they look like they belong there.
Interesting perspective. Okay, yeah, I can see what you mean from an application standpoint. And as far as tuning and the impressions that the customers have once it's all installed, of course.
Yeah, customers, they normally freak out. They're um, they're overwhelmed.
Gobsmacked? They're overwhelmed.
They're
That much gem.
overwhelmed. Yeah, yeah.
Now, are they overwhelmed with the performance of the gear or just the quality of the craftsmanship?
Well,
Sean,
you
be
know
honest
what?
with me.
The thing about it is like have such good relationships with their customers.
Mhm.
Like we spend a lot of time on their boats with them. And you get to know them and their families kind of thing. And as well, you get to know all the other families at the marina too, right? So when, sometimes I have people waiting around for the boat to finally get turned on with stereo and stuff like that. Because the boating community, like they're one big community. Like some of these people don't have cottage. They just use their boat as their cottage kind of thing. So if there's something happening at the marina. There's, over 100 boats there kind of thing. Everybody's going to be there waiting for it to happen. And when you turn it on, they're normally pretty impressed.
They know who's jamming. Thank you so much, Sean.
I think we're going to start putting fog machines in boats this year. I think we're going to try that. Fog machines and lasers in boats this year. I think that would be pretty cool.
Start the trend. Everybody will follow. I have no doubt in my mind. Sean, I'm going to ask you to hang out a little bit in the backstage as I bring on my next guest, and I'll bring you back at the end when we have a little powwow. All right?
Great.
Thanks a lot, Sean. That was Sean Bashara, legendary fabricator out of the Ottawa region. My next guest, third party is about as third party as it gets. He spends most of his days testing audio equipment, and honestly, he's been doing that for as long as I've known him, and that's been quite a long time. Let's go ahead and bring him on. His name is Dave McKinnon, and he is the editor-in-chief of Best Car Audio. DMAC, as we call you. What's going on, sir?
How are you, sir?
I am interested in going down this journey, learning about ARC Audio. We had Fred on earlier, as you know,
right.
Kind of walked us through the whole, offering. And then some interesting perspective from Sean. Of course, I know you and Sean are friends. And then
absolutely.
And he mentioned that you might have, at one point recommended him try some of this product. My angle with having you on today, Dave, was a little bit different. And what I wanted to kind of extract from you is your specialty. And your specialty is what exactly? Why don't you define that for us?
So, as editor-in-chief of bestcaraudio.com, basically I'm in charge of about developing 99.5% of the content. We've got a gentleman out of New York that does some vehicle reviews, but I do all the articles, and of course I do all the product testing. So we do some product spotlights, which are hands-off, like close look at products. And I just did something on the A-Series subs that'll be online in a few weeks. But then I do hands-on testing. So I've been doing, we'll call it lab grade car audio product testing for about 23 years. And I've spent a lot of money in gear to funny. It all cut, it's basically I hear something and I want to figure out why I hear what I hear or why I don't hear what I hear. So I figure out a way to test that. So whether it's a speaker, processor, amplifier, head unit, to me, it's all about quantifying the performance in a a measurable value that I can compare to something else.
Fair enough. It's very scientific, and it's very, and there's a process. Obviously, it's process driven. And I did hear that you do test multiple different types of products, not just amplifiers. It's a little bit of everything, right?
Yeah. Ultimately, whatever our clients want reviewed, I'll figure out a way to tell their story. We've got a dash cam coming. We've got, there's always something neat.
Fair enough. Now, would you agree with me if I said, Dave has tested a multitude of different products from different brands at different price points? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think I've got published reviews. It's probably just under 500.
Okay. That's a fair amount, Dave.
Yeah. And there's lots that aren't published that you work, direct for clients.
Sure.
And then just out of curiosity, I'll borrow stuff and test it just so that I, can give an opinion on it that isn't, it's not swayed by marketing stories.
Not skewed, nothing.
It just is what it is. And that's the nice thing about testing stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I'm counting on you on, because the next question is going to justify why I wanted you here today.
Sure.
Fred talks a big game. That's why I specifically want to talk to you and not have Fred on the screen with me. So I wanted somebody third party to kind of drill up on that I know I can trust, because I've known you a long time as well. So let's talk about brand overall, ARC. You've tested different products within the range, speakers, subs, amps. But how would you best describe their performance on the test bench overall as a brand?
So I was looking up the numbers. I first saw our products and I've got it right there, 2004, and I'd seen the company at CES. I knew nothing about them, but that's kind of good. So the first amp showed up, and I measured it and tested it, and it was, it did well, and it was cool, and I was happy. In 2006, they sent me one of their SE amplifiers, the SE 4200, and same thing, went through the process. And then when I listened to it, it was unlike anything else I'd heard. There was this transparency, clarity, control that I hadn't, I couldn't quantify in numbers. Like, it wasn't just power, because at low volume levels, it sounded better. So that's when the money started flowing, the audio analyzers at the time.
Just to be clear, when you say money started flowing, meaning buying more test equipment.
Buying more test equipment, yeah,
Gotcha.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely. To tell the story, I mean, you can guess at some stuff, but if you want to be credible, you got to measure it. So being able to measure frequency response, distortion, signal to noise ratio, intermodulation distortion, all these things that translate back into the sound of a product. That's kind of what started it. So
if I'm not mistaken, we do have an image to kind of show the type of stuff you said. Let's go ahead and bring that up if you don't mind, Sheldon.
That'd be
it's just an idea of the type of stuff that you actually go through as far as
so that's it's a test on our website of the ARC 1000.4 DSP. And that's, it's not everything I can measure, but it's 99% of it. So there's, people are used to frequency response measurements, and you can see it's flat from 7 hertz to 34 kilohertz. There's power measurements, and we should talk about that. I've got their, rated power and then what I measured, and you'll see on the 4-channel bridged, they call it 500 by 2, and I measured over 700 by 2. So their 1,000-watt amp made 1,400 watts. And these days, when lots of companies, quite honestly, and I just, I'm going to go there because it's sort of my thing, are lying about their power numbers. This is continuous RMS power at often less than 14 volts. And, I know Fred and the guys wish I had a bigger power supply, but I don't. That was at 13.3 volts. But at exactly 1% total harmonic distortion and noise, the amp made 700 watts. So at 14.4, 750, 800, like totally amazing.
So we're talking easily 35 to 40% above what the box says.
Yep. Yeah. Amazing power, but amazing efficiency, amazing distortion performance. Like, Fred was talking about what Robert Zeff said, and their trademark is just this transparency and clarity that, I mean, there's other really good stuff out there, but every time I get something, it's like, I'm excited. I want to see what they've done this time, whether it's, because Class A, B, G, H, whatever.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and take this down, please. I'll have 1 or 2 more questions for you, Dave. So what you're saying is you've tested the product. You shared some of the results with us. And so this has kind of created a type of expectation now for you as a tester. When you see that brand product coming through, you are now expecting that, that it kind of performs above what it's trying to say. Have you seen that pattern throughout more than just, say, this line of amplifiers to other products that they've made?
Yeah, I've got a PS850 that I use to run the sound system here in the lab, and it's connected to 2 computers, and it shares a subwoofer, and it does auto switching, and it does neat stuff. But I mean, they rated it at 50 by 8, and it was up closer to, and it wasn't a formal test. It was me being curious, but it was up around 80 watts a channel.
Again, in that 30-40 percentile mark that.
Just like way more. And where I think this really matters, aside from the sound quality, because I think a lot of consumers are being done a disservice and not being sold on high performance products, but it's also great value. So, you spend the money, you want to put it in your car and crank it and go, I got, I feel like I might have gotten more than I paid for. And there's a lot of companies that are doing dynamic power testing. They're saying they're making 75 watts per channel, and they're like, 68, which it's close, but it just takes the value out of, you know, the proposition.
So you think the value proposition is something significant when it comes to with the products that you've tested so far with ARC?
Yeah, you combine, you know, the power measurements, which,
Mhm.
you know, I don't think they're as important as the sound quality measurements, the distortion and noise and that sort of thing. But yeah, like what a package. It's really cool. And that's,
Okay.
you know, that's kind of why I put Sean onto them. Like, dude, you gotta just try one, you know. It
Mhm.
doesn't affect me. I don't make any money off it,
Mhm.
but I'm always impressed. So I'm like, yeah, let's try one. And if I'm wrong, you tell me and I'll leave you alone.
Fair
That's
enough. Fair
how I
enough.
roll.
My last question before we bring in the other boys. So specification aside,
Yep.
Value dollar amount aside,
Yep.
as far as the feature set, as far as the build quality, as far as it being over delivering as a total whole package now, well, how does this translate to the end user?
It's funny, every time you said something, it was like another vision, right? So you look at the PS8 Pro family of DSPs. Fred was talking about the integration stuff with the Maestro AR and being able to do multiple processors. Nobody else can do it, right?
Unique.
He's got yeah, totally unique. So if you've got a big system you want to recreate with better aftermarket products, it can do it. Subwoofers, you know, I tested the ARC 8 back in 2006 and I remember it. It's not just, oh yeah, I tested it. It's one of the couple hundred subs that were in, you know, my Subaru. Like I remember that little 8-inch sub like jammed and went low and sounded good. The other thing a lot of guys overlook, will lean more towards the amplifiers again, is, you know, efficiency. Motorcycle amplifiers like the Moto 720 is at full jam, it's up around like 95-96% efficient.
Wow.
And I've seen lots of, you know, really small amplifiers that, you know, they claim big power. I've run them on the bench and they shut off after 2 minutes, like 2 minutes, and they turned off because they were overheated.
Do you have a pile of like fried amps? I'm just curious.
No, those go away.
Those go away.
I do have a pile of amps, but they're not fried.
Understood.
Yeah, so I mean, and where that comes down to is, you know, it's the design. You know, I'll consider Robert Zeff and his guys my friends. I talk to them. I learn things from them all the time. I've hung out with them for a day. And what they do differently is, I mean, they design every part of the product. So a lot of companies will take a DSP chip and they'll look at the, you know, the white paper, the spec sheet, whatever you want to call it, and they'll say, here's the standard circuitry you put around it, and they do that, right? And oh, it has these features, so they turn on all these features through, you know, through the development software. I mean, ARC doesn't do that. They look at the you know, the components and go, how can we best design a board layout, circuitry, whatever, to optimize the performance. So they separate things that need to be separated as much as they can in their small chassis. The chassis themselves, I mean, so they've got cooling fans built in, the fans buried in the middle. And I mean, I could spend half an hour talking about what they go through just to flow air through the right parts of the amplifiers.
So you can confirm everything you just said because you've torn these things apart. You've looked at
oh yeah, first everything that shows up. I mean, I don't know if you can see it. There's a, you know, there's an X2 2500.1 there. There's 2 ARC series amps there. Yeah, I first thing I do, I take them apart before I listen to them.
Nice.
Then I listen to them, then I measure them. And,
fair enough.
You know, stuff is what it is. You can't lie about facts. You can't lie.
No, and this is why I wanted to ask you the questions that I did, because this is what I want to set up for our final part of our show, which will be a little discussion that we're going to have, a little roundtable at the end. Dave, thanks so much for being Dave McKinnon
pleasure.
and coming in and being exactly who I expected you to be and answering those questions. Let's bring back the boys. So let's go ahead and bring back Romesh, as well as Fred, as well as Sean, and have a little discussion and powwow about what we just learned today. Sean, you're still there with us. Thank you. Appreciate you hanging on. And Fred and Romesh. First of all, learned a lot of different perspectives. I want to give Fred an opportunity to comment on what he just heard from Sean and from DMAC as well. Go ahead, Fred.
You know, like I say, when I originally set up to do something where we get to talk about the goods and the bads, You know, it was all based upon honesty and third party opinion honesty. You know, that's why when I said, hey, who else can you bring in? Yeah, I'm kind of glad you guys picked these guys because, you know, they've definitely both built reputations for themselves. So it's definitely nice to hear the feedback, you know, from a dealer level, from the sales end of it, from the owner aspect of it, from the installer aspect of it, most importantly from the customer aspect of it. You know, to be able to hear that information from Sean, and at the same time to be able to, you know, hear that we're still following true to our morals and our guidelines on how we plan these products and how we develop them. From, you know, dating back when Dave got his first products versus you know, where we are right now. You know, staying true to that is probably the biggest value for our customers, and making sure that we don't deviate from that just to affect numbers is still going to stay as one of the most important values to this company. So I would say, at least what I heard, I got no complaints whatsoever on there, and I'll take that all day long.
Sounds good. Ramesh, how about you? Anything to add, or any comments that they made that you want to comment on?
I had a couple of notes here. I noted, I mean, it seems like Sean and Dave both really spoke to the, you know, transparency using different wording, but effectively the same thing. And it really comes down to the design of the product and the engineering of the product, right? And that I think that really is something that you can't fake it till you make it. Either it's there or it's not, right? So.
Mm-hmm. And I'm
That
sure
was really interesting.
that probably translates a lot to why Importel has had the success it's had with ARC. So, Sean, I want you to comment now on anything that you heard that Dave had said. Does anything he said surprises you? Because I don't know if you tried all the ARC product, but it sounds like Dave has actually tested it.
Yeah, you know what I like? I've always liked Robert Zeff's product, and it's always had that really hard bottom end. That like we used to do a lot of that stuff back in the 90s. So the first bigger amp
That's all you did back in the 90s? You didn't do anything else back in the 90s other than Robert Zeff amps?
No, we got partying back then. In the 90s. A lot of partying in the 90s, yeah. You were there, Ben.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, as you were saying, you like the, you know, the Robert.
Look at the Asian guys blushing.
That works.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's got that really nice bottom end kind of thing that's really familiar. But it's a really good sounding amplifier too.
Very, very good. DMAC, I didn't give you an opportunity to comment on the new product that Mr. Lynch is talking about here, both in the Blackbird and the Nighthawk. You're very familiar with the whole lineup. How do you feel about those two new products coming into the mix?
Totally cool. Totally cool to see a little bit more power. Well, a lot more power on the DSP amp and some more channels. Channels has become, you know, when DSP became popular in car audio, 6 or 8 channels was sort of enough for, you know, big system, and now you need a lot more. So thank you. Stop teasing. So yeah, so having some more would be really nice. So you can do a 3-way front stage, rear speakers, and a couple subs. One thing that there's so many aspects you can talk about, but I mean, there's software, their DSP configuration software. A lot of guys cram stuff onto a single page, and sometimes you have to adjust, you know, EQ with your mouse or on a tablet with. It's super simple to use. You go in, you set up your input levels. You go in, you set up your crossovers. You don't need to mess with that stuff to tune a car. Right, you set it, configure it for what, you know, for the parameters of the speakers and the locations you've got them. If you see something you got to change, fine, change it. But then you can go through and set the EQs and delays. And I've seen Fred do it, but I've done it myself in my car. Is you can actually, you know, you can put your hands on the arrow keys and just move back and forth and tweak up and down for that last little bit of tuning where, okay, I want just a little bit more highs or a little bit more warmth in the mid bass, or, you know, something like
Dave,
that.
And I think there's 2 points to that though. And I think you know, the way that I describe it to like a lot of our competitors is the arrow keys are definitely critical, because close your eyes, if you know where the 4 arrow keys are and you know where you are on the software when it comes to EQ, it puts the power of tuning back in your ears versus only what your eyes see. And that's something that, you know, the one reason why we made sure that was a huge integration point on the way we developed the software, was because there's a lot of tuning software out there where you are stuck with, okay, where is my mouse cursor and where is my other finger and where are my eyes looking on the software? So the problem is you get that psychological aspect of things where just because you see a slider move, you have to be hearing something different. But sometimes you're not.
Right.
Fair enough.
Absolutely.
Fair enough. Fred, you saw those crazy install pics. If you follow Sean on Facebook, he does a lot of crazy stuff like that. I'd like to hear your comments on using your X2 line of things the way that he does, and to the capacity that Sean does.
You know, the X2 line is designed to be versatile, whether it's a sound quality setup. I mean, we have guys competing with X2 in the sound quality arena, and they're winning. They're winning consistently. We have guys like Sean using it in boats and marines, different vehicles, truck applications. It's designed to be extremely versatile, and so seeing Sean use it, as well as seeing him use as much of it as he uses in a single install, is very consistent with what some of our dealers do. We have a dealer over in the Bay Area. He did some RV, and I think it was like 12 of the 6 channels or something like that he had in there,
Wow.
running other stuff. And then he'd done some stuff with
Sean's like, challenge accepted.
Pictures are never happened. Sean's like, pictures are never happened.
Yeah.
Sean's like, 12? Oh, here, hold my drink.
Yeah. Hold my drink.
But like I say, it's a solid design, and everything from the speakers to the subs to the amplifiers, you can put them in, and I mean, it's little things like even the display on the amplifier. I can't tell you how many years before I started doing this and I was working an install day, I would cringe because it's like, all right, well, I know how I want to lay the amplifiers out because it's easiest to do wiring, but now I got logos printed on the face of an amplifier that's telling me, well, if I don't care how the system looks how it's installed, the little details, you have to do it. I mean, ours, we don't have anything. I mean, it's, here it is. And you can just take this little badge and you can rotate it whichever direction you want. So that way the logo is always oriented based upon how you're doing the installation. And that was the same thing with the PS8, the original PS8 before the PS8 Pro. It's all about doing the little, all the little things add up and they all count. And at the end of the day, if it's easier for the installer, if it's easier for the sales guy, if it's easier for the customer to get what they want and what they're expecting based upon how they're sold, and if the stuff doesn't break and it sounds good, it's a win-win for everybody across because the only good customer is a happy customer.
Absolutely. Sean, I got a question for you. We've got Fred right here in front of us. Any wish list, any suggestions that you have now that you're playing with this stuff at this level? This is it. I want to hear it.
I'm going to duck.
I would like a pair of 7500 watt amplifiers that could be strapped. That would be nice.
Leave the claim at the desk. Yeah.
You know what? I will make note of that.
Okay. I was going to ask for a small amp with lots of power, but I guess you guys kind of just built one, so there's that.
Yeah.
Lots of power and lots of channels.
Lots of powers and lots of channels, lots of configuration options based on
that.
Yeah,
but at least I could say this. Keep in mind, this amplifier, when we make the power claim, you're going to get the power out of it. It's not, oh, hey, look, we've got something about the size of two packs of cigarettes or a stack of Post-it notes or something, and it does 1,000 watts. Yeah, it does 1,000 watts for that hundredth of a second. Like some of these guys, they do 1,000 watts for that hundredth of a second before it blows all the fuses across the rail. So,
guys, I know we spent a lot of time on the power stuff. I think that message is loud and clear. No pun intended. Well, pun intended. One final topic I just want to touch on, and I'm going to start with Ramesh. ARC is also known not only for the power, but also DSP is kind of a hot ticket item for the ARC brand amongst your customers. Anything that you learned tonight, or any questions that you might want to bring up in discussion when it comes to the DSP side of things and ARC audio?
I don't know. I don't know if it's a point of discussion, but I mean, more channels, which has been taken care of. The integration side of the DSP has become massive into just being able to get into these vehicles. They've got CarPlay, they've got Android Auto, they've got whatever in the factory in the factory radio, and we need to build off of that. And being able to, like what ARC is doing, I think being able to add multiple ARs gives us that, or for vehicles that are AR compatible, or even in fiber optic vehicles where there's third party modules, it gives us a way into the car to have a predictable and repeatable result. And you've heard me say this in multiple, like, that's what we do. That's where this thing shines, and dealers can, and consumers can get, we're using the word value proposition before. If we can't predict how this is going to go, and it's going to be 5 hours of tuning to figure it out because we don't know what the vehicle is going to give us, and we have to go through, jump through hoops. The AR fixes all that. The Maestro fixes all that, and ARC has the ability, is giving us the ability to use multiple ARs. So I don't know if that's more of a question.
No, but it's a unique. It's a pointing out of a unique feature that ARC provides.
But it's a day-to-day feature, right? And this is where there's like almost a disconnect in parts of our dealer network, and the consumer does, may not even know that this exists. But when someone comes in with a F-150 or a GMC Sierra, it could be A to B type technology in the factory system. It could be most 150. We don't know till you get in there if you haven't done the vehicle or done your research.
If it's a Ford Flex, I know somebody.
Right. There's a guy who may have 5 of them. Is it 5 ARs, 4 ARs in there?
I think it's 3, isn't it?
Three ARs in there.
3 ARs, right?
Yeah.
We have another dealer, I think, beta testing 2, I believe. Yeah. 2 ARs with 2,000.
One of the big things to remember that though is that the AR is not just an OEM limited solution though, because people think OEM is just being able to replace what the OEM has there only. And although you are doing that with multi-AR, you have the ability to have a system grow. So if you want to take a system that's initially a two-way active front end dedicated amplifier channel, OEM system, you can now make that a full 3-way front end, or a full 2-way active rear end, or a 2-way D pillar, or individual front and rear subs. It's just a completely open architecture. So it puts the power of tuning, DSP processing, OEM integration. It puts it all back in the hands of the installer.
System building too.
Yeah, and system building. And I mean, as long as the installer and the sales guys are creative and they have the knowledge to be able to go and do it, we're just basically standing back. We're not putting engineers in the middle of dreams, and we're letting the installers and the sales
You're
guys.
Empowering the creative aspect back into the installer.
Yeah.
Dave, I'd like for you to chime in on this topic before before we close
and
up.
it's funny, we're talking about flexibility. One thing that I've always loved about the PS8 and the PS8 Pro software is that you can do anything, right? You can send any amount of any signal from any input channel to any output channel. And so, when we only had 8 channels, you could do 3-way front stage. You could use, channel 7 for rear fill in mono, and you could use channel 8 for subwoofer. So just this open, flexible architecture. You could link EQ, you could not link EQ, you could kind of just do whatever you want. So that's always been another great, call it problem solver tool.
Well, and I'll say this much. The one thing you're going to find about our DSPs that's different than everybody else, we're a little bit more mellow to our marketing efforts, because we would rather let our product speak for itself than rename other technologies in order to be able to put some marketing behind it. We'd rather let our product speak for itself. Fair
enough. Sean, I'm going to anchor this with you. Just anything to add to this DSP conversation when it comes to ARC Audio?
No, I think I like them. They work really well for us.
That's all you needed, Fred. That was the testimonial right there of the day. Nope, I like them.
Don't need to change it. Just keep them coming.
On that note, gentlemen, I want to take this opportunity to thank you for taking the time today. Of course, it's never easy getting our schedules lined up, but I think this one was
Sean and Dave, we really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your days to come out and help us out.
And maybe we'll do this again, perhaps. Maybe we'll do this again. Sean, thank you very much. I'll talk to you soon, sir. You too, D-Max.
Take care.
Blowing up amps and testing and proving people wrong. Love it. Take care, guys.
Thank you, guys.
And for you, Fred, dude, I hope this turned out the way you want it. I think you covered what we wanted to check, all the boxes. And very exciting news on both the new Blackbird and the Nighthawk units, as well as the 6x9 and 6.5 units coming out as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you've given dealers more than enough to look forward to, and pretty much touch base on everything we need to do.
I'm sure some dealers are just activated and have to listen to me talk for an hour. So
there is an underground fan club that you may or may not be aware of. But anyhow,
is he allowed in that site or?
No, he's not. That's the whole thing about it.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Fred, thank you so much, sir. We'll talk to you in the next one.
See you guys.
Fred, thanks
Take
a
care.
lot. Appreciate it.
So, Ramesh, we did it. We had everybody on. You've heard the different perspectives. I hope you use this to send to your customers so that they can understand, the different.
Oh yeah, this will
perspectives.
be, there'll be all these little timestamps on. Hey, watch this part. Watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's the graphics, of course. If you don't know already, if you're looking for ARC audio product and you happen to be in Canada, make sure you get a hold of Ramesh and his team at Importel. They are the Canadian distributor. Last message.
Call your rep.
Call your rep. They have a couple of those.
Email. Smoke signal.
Ramesh, I'll give it to you. Last message for dealers who sat through this and definitely learned something.
If you haven't tried ARC, you need to just try it. I mean, I'm not like, I can sit here and say all kinds of flowery things about ARC. We know it works. We know the stuff goes out. It stays out. It's bomb proof, but everybody can say that. Try it. Listen to it. If you listen to it, then your customers will have an opportunity to listen to it, and that'll sell it.
Very good. And if you don't believe Ramesh, maybe you listen to the other guys we had on today. They all had pretty valid arguments. So on that note, Mr. Ramesh, thank you for joining us today, man. We'll look forward to the next one.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
There you have it, guys. That was CMA Connected, all about ARC audio. That was a fun one. Want to remind you, though, continue tuning into CMA Networks. This is just the beginning. We've got a whole slew of car audio content coming at you hard over the next few weeks, right through to Wednesday, June 15th. Every car audio brand coming into the studio one-on-one. And definitely stay tuned for that. I also want to make sure you check out our newly redesigned website. I know I say it all the time, but it's important. CMAnetworks.com. Hundreds of videos to choose from. You can search by category, search by brand, or search by your favorite trainer. Check out my man Fred. He's got his own profile on our website. See all the videos that we've done with Fred Lynch from ARC. That's it. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
Stop it. Yo, roll it down. I am.
You don't need a car to listen to SiriusXM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on SiriusXM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?